All right, we're moving on to lesson 3, section 10, chapter 3, section 10. We're talking about relations. We talked a little bit about what relations are. They are a set of ordered pairs. Can you graph relations and determine if they are functions? So the first one that we see here is called a mapping. Notice this is saying the point 1 and 0, 1 and 2, 2 and 1, 2 and 3, 3 and 2, 3 and 4, and they're showing you the domain and the range. These same numbers are laid out in a table. We use a table a lot for plugging in numbers. Get good at plugging in numbers because we're going to do it a lot. And then they graph it here just with little points. So let's see what they mean if relations are functions. A relation is a set of ordered pairs. The set of the first coordinates in the order of pairs is the domain, and the set of the second is the range. So typically we know, or we see, that the domain is the x, the range is the y, but yes, that can change. A function is a relation in which different ordered pairs have different first coordinates. We use the vertical line test to determine if something's a function. So I'm going to throw a bunch of graphs at the top of the screen, and we're going to see what the vertical line test means. All right, we'll determine if they're a function. So we're going to look at a couple of them. The first graph that you see, this is the absolute value parent function. You do not need to know that as of yet. If I am to use a vertical line, notice it only touches once. Therefore, this is a function. The next graph that you see is an x squared graph. This is a quadratic function. And when I use the vertical line test, even though it's going way, way up, it still only hits at 3.1, 3.2. So each x coordinate is paired with only one y coordinate. So yes, this x squared is also a function. The next function that you see is a y squared function, where y squared is equal to x. Notice how it hits in two places. So this x coordinate, let's say it's 2, matches with 1 and -1. If that is the case and the x is matched with 2 or more, this is not a function. The last one that you see is a cubic function, so that's x cubed. And once again, I show this because notice that it looks like it might not pass the vertical line test, but this just is going up very, 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 very steep. So it only touches one time through every x. So again, this is a function. All right, our first example says state the domain and the range and tell whether the relation is a function. The domain of this graph is 1, 2, 3, 4. The range of this graph is 2, well, there's 2 of them, I don't have to write them twice, and 1. So 1x can only be matched with 1y. Let's go ahead and graph this just so we can take a look so we understand. Even though we have 1 and 2, we have 2 and 2. That doesn't matter because that will still pass the vertical line test. We have 3 and 1 and 4 and 1. And you don't have to graph all these. If you notice that all of the x's are different numbers, you will know that yes, this is a function. Looking at this mapping, I'm going to write it out just so you guys can see. Notice the first coordinate is 1 and 3, and then 1 and 4, and then 2, 3. Well, let's go ahead and name the domain. The domain is 1 and 2. It's placed so nicely for me right here. And I can name the range. The range is 3 and 4. But because this 1 is repeated, it is not a function. All right, the last one's a nice graph. And they say to name the domain. This is going to be a little bit different for us. So the domain is all the numbers between -2 and +2. Because remember, the domain is reading from left to right because it is the x-axis. So I'm going to say the domain is the set of all numbers of x in which x is between -2 and +2. All right, let's talk about the range. The range starts here on 0, and it looks like it continues to go up to infinity. So I'm going to say that the range is the set of all numbers y in which y is greater than or equal to 0, because this is telling me it's going to keep going. And using the vertical line test, function, but right here, it is not a function.